The subway lights flickered just as the train lurched into the tunnel, a sickly pulse that made every face in the crowded car look pale and unfinished, like masks without skin. I gripped the cold metal pole tighter, feeling the thrum of the wheels beneath my feet. Then I noticed it, a worn, leather-bound journal on the seat across from me. No one claimed it. The man who had been sitting there only a second ago had vanished when the lights dimmed, as though the darkness itself had taken him. The journal sat waiting, its cover scuffed, corners bent, the spine cracked like it had been opened thousands of times. Nobody else seemed to see it. People checked their glowing phones, tapped restless fingers against briefcases, scrolled through feeds that had no end. I hesitated, my chest tight with that strange mix of curiosity and dread, before finally reaching for it. The leather was warmer than it should have been. I pulled it onto my lap, and the train's motion suddenly slowed, the screech of the wheels stretching out unnaturally, like the sound itself didn't want me to hear what came next. I opened the cover, and my stomach flipped. My name was written inside, in handwriting that wasn't mine, in ink that hadn't dried yet. Beneath it, a date. Tomorrow's date. The journal smelled faintly of smoke, and its first page wasn't blank. It was already filled with words I had never written, but somehow remembered. The man across from you vanishes when the lights falter. Don't let go of the journal. Whatever you do, don't follow him when he returns. My pulse kicked hard in my throat. I looked up quickly. No one across from me. Just the empty seat, the faint reflection of my own face in the window. The city outside was gone, swallowed by the tunnel, but the black glass showed me something that wasn't there. Another man's reflection, faint, sitting across from me, though the seat remained empty. His head was tilted, watching me. I snapped my eyes back to the journal. The next line had appeared as though written in real time, the pen strokes scratching themselves into being. He's watching now. My breathing stuttered, my chest rising too fast. The woman beside me scrolled endlessly through her phone, oblivious. A man in a suit tapped his foot impatiently, staring at the ceiling as if waiting for the lights to stop flickering. Nobody noticed what I was holding, what I was reading, what I was seeing. I glanced at the reflection again. He hadn't moved, but the tilt of his head was sharper, like a predator before a strike. I gripped the journal tighter, flipping to the next page, desperate for answers. The script spilled across it like spilled ink. When the train stops, you'll have a choice. Stay inside, and he follows. Step out, and the city won't be the same. My throat was dry. I wanted to drop the thing, slide it down the seat, pretend I had never seen it, but my fingers refused to let go. The journal's weight pressed into my palms like a demand. The train jolted, the lights flared too bright, then snapped into darkness. For an endless moment, the only sound was the grinding metal echoing in the black. Then a whisper slid against my ear, though no one had moved. You shouldn't have opened it. I spun my head. Nobody close enough to have said it. The lights returned, pale and buzzing, and for the first time the seat across from me wasn't empty. He was there, the man from the reflection. His skin was too smooth, like stretched paper, and his eyes had no whites, only dark pools that swallowed the buzzing light whole. Nobody reacted. A woman 2 seats down adjusted her headphones. A child yawned, tugging on his mother's sleeve. Only I could see him. Only I knew. The journal burned faintly against my hands, words etching across the page faster now, jagged, frantic. He's here. Don't speak to him. Don't let him call you by your name. My throat closed around a breath. The man's lips curved, slow, deliberate, and when he spoke it was in a voice I had heard every day of my life. My own. You shouldn't be here. My entire body locked. He leaned forward, his reflection behind me showing him closer than he was in reality, like the glass world was ahead of ours, not behind. The journal shook in my grip, pages fluttering though no air stirred in the train. I looked down again. New words scratched themselves onto the paper in a hurried scrawl. The first fracture has opened. Choose now, before it closes. Stay with him, or step off when the doors part. The train screeched, slowing. My stomach twisted. The lights flickered, and in that dim moment his face stretched unnaturally, like the glass wanted to pull him back through, but couldn't. People around us began gathering their things, ready to disembark. Oblivious. The doors hissed, and the air from the station beyond rushed in, smelling faintly of rain. I stood, heart hammering, journal clutched tight, and looked across at him. He tilted his head again, same as before. Only this time his smile widened, teeth too many for a human mouth. His voice, still my own, whispered one final time. Step outside, and you'll never see home again. My hand trembled on the pole. The station was there, waiting. The journal's words bled across the page, a warning I couldn't ignore. This is the last stop you'll recognize. The door slid open with a long hiss. The choice hovered, suffocating. Step off, or stay inside. Either way, the fracture had already begun. I stepped off the train, the journal heavy against my chest, the station air damp and metallic, smelling like old rain trapped underground. For a moment, it looked like any other subway platform. Advertisements peeling from the walls, a few passengers moving briskly toward the stairs, but there was something wrong with the sound. It wasn't echoes of footsteps or the rumble of trains above. It was a low, steady hum, like the pulse of something alive beneath the concrete. I clutched the journal tighter, my palms slick. Behind me, the train doors closed with a final hiss. I turned my head instinctively, but when I looked back into the car, the man with my face wasn't there anymore. The seat was empty again, as though he had never existed. Only the reflection on the black window glass remained, faint and smirking, before the train slid into darkness and vanished. A dozen other passengers filed past me without a glance, heading up the stairs. None of them looked back. None of them seemed to notice the strange stillness in the station. The journal pages fluttered even though no air stirred, then stopped suddenly. My name had appeared again, written larger this time, almost carved into the paper. Do not let him follow you home. My throat tightened. I wanted to throw the thing down the tracks, pretend it wasn't mine, but my fingers wouldn't obey. They curled tighter, as though the journal's weight anchored me to this wrongness. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step echoing too long, as if the station stretched farther than it should. When I reached the street, the air felt cleaner, colder, like after a storm. People bustled as normal, horns blaring, neon signs buzzing, the sky bruised purple with approaching night. But again, there was that underlying hum, faint, beneath every sound. My apartment wasn't far. I walked faster than usual, checking my reflection in every store window, terrified I'd see him beside me. And then I did. In the glass of a darkened shop, for just a breath, he walked half a step behind me, his smile wrong, his eyes bottomless. I spun around, empty sidewalk. My pulse stuttered, but the journal's next page had already written itself. Do not run. He waits for weakness. I forced myself to keep walking, slow, measured, though every nerve in my body screamed. By the time I reached my building, I was shaking. The lobby lights buzzed faintly, the hum louder here, like it seeped through the walls. I hurried up the stairs and into my apartment, slamming the door shut, locking it twice. The silence inside was thick, suffocating. I dropped the journal on the table and backed away, half expecting it to move on its own. But it just lay there, closed, innocent. My phone buzzed suddenly. Relief surged until I looked at the screen. No caller ID. Against every instinct, I answered. At first it was silence. Then a voice. My voice. Why did you step off? My hand went cold, my breath catching. Who is this? I demanded, though I already knew. The laugh was mine too, warped and too smooth. You shouldn't fight it. Every version breaks eventually. The line clicked dead. My heart hammered against my ribs. I threw the phone onto the couch, shaking. The journal snapped open on its own, pages flaring like wings, ink carving across them in a frantic scrawl. He knows where you live. Burn this book or follow its instructions. There is no middle path. My hands trembled. I grabbed the journal, rushed to the kitchen, yanked open a drawer for matches. But when I struck one, the flame died instantly, like the air refused fire. I tried again. The flame sparked, flared, then snuffed out. The journal's words shifted again, harsher, darker. It cannot be destroyed in this world. My knees almost buckled. I slammed it shut, breathing hard. A sharp knock at the door froze me. 3 steady raps. My body turned to stone. Another knock. Louder this time. I crept toward the door, my pulse pounding in my ears. I pressed my eye to the peephole and staggered back. The hallway was empty. Completely empty. Then my phone buzzed again. A message this time. Unknown number. A picture. My front door, right now, taken from the hallway. The journal shuddered on the table, pages quivering. I opened it with shaking fingers. New words scrawled across the page. Do not open the door. Wait for the third shadow. Then leave. I stared at the door, every instinct screaming to run, to hide, to do anything but wait. My breathing was ragged, sweat dripping down my back. The knock came again, this time softer, almost gentle. A shadow slid beneath the door, thin and elongated, stretching unnaturally across the floor. My stomach turned cold. The journal wrote again, one shadow. 2 more will follow. Do not move until the third. I gripped the book like a lifeline, teeth clenched. The second shadow appeared minutes later, drifting across the floor like smoke. I couldn't breathe. My legs wanted to sprint, but the words in the journal burned against my vision. I waited. Then the third shadow came, crawling beneath the door slower than the others, thick, like it was dragging itself inside. The moment it fully appeared, the knock stopped. Silence. The journal's next words. Now, leave through the fire escape. Do not take the elevator. He is inside it. My pulse spiked. I grabbed my jacket, shoved the journal under my arm, yanked the window open, and climbed onto the fire escape. The night air hit me sharp and cold. I scrambled down the metal steps, the hum louder now, vibrating through the steel. Halfway down, I glanced at the window of my apartment and froze. He was there, standing inside my living room. My face, my body, smiling through the glass. And then he raised his hand and waved, slow, deliberate. My knees nearly gave out. I forced myself down, faster, stumbling onto the alley below. The journal flared open again, the ink writing without pause. Run, but not home. Find the station again. The fracture has not closed. I clutched the journal tighter, heart pounding, and sprinted into the night, away from the life that had already been taken. The city blurred past me in streaks of light and shadow as I ran. The journal pressed tight against my chest, my breath ragged and uneven. I didn't know where I was going, only that the words in the journal pulsed with urgency, telling me to return to the station. The streets felt different tonight, stretched too far, every alley yawning like a throat ready to swallow me. No one looked up from their glowing screens. No one noticed the man sprinting past with terror carved into his face. It was like they couldn't see me at all, or maybe wouldn't. The hum was louder now, vibrating beneath the pavement with every step. When I reached the station entrance, I nearly collapsed. The stairs gaped open like the mouth of a cave, neon lights flickering above the turnstiles. For a moment I hesitated, chest heaving, but the journal fluttered violently, pages slapping as though driven by some invisible wind. I pushed forward, leaping the turnstile, taking the steps 2 at a time. The platform was deserted, eerily so. A single train waited, doors open, lights dim. The journal scrawled across its own pages. Not that one. Wait. I stood frozen, staring at the yawning doors, feeling something shift inside the train, a presence moving in the shadows, waiting for me to step closer. My pulse hammered, but I stayed rooted, gripping the journal. Then a voice broke the silence. You've got it too. I whipped around. A woman stood near one of the pillars, half hidden in shadow. Her hair was cropped short, her jacket torn at the sleeve, and in her hand she held another journal, tattered, edges burned, but alive, trembling faintly, as if it too breathed. She stepped closer, eyes fixed on mine. I saw you in the glass. That's how I knew. My throat tightened. Who are you? My voice cracked dry. She ignored the question and gestured at the book I held. It brought you here, didn't it? It doesn't stop once it finds you. Her own journal flared open briefly, showing words I couldn't read before snapping shut. They don't want us meeting, but the fracture made it possible. For now. The words hit me like a blow. Fracture, I repeated, remembering what my journal had written. What is it? What's happening? She gave a bitter laugh. What's happening is you've been marked. Same as me. We're not just in this reality anymore. The journal's linked to every version of us, and every version that wants to replace us. My chest tightened. Him, I whispered. Her face darkened. Yes, him. They always look like us, because they are us, just not from here. They don't just want to take your place. They believe they already deserve it. My stomach twisted. How long have you? 3 months, she cut in. That's how long I've been running. Before that, I thought I was going crazy. Then I met someone else. He didn't make it. She lifted her burned journal slightly. This was his. Now it's mine. A train roared past suddenly, though no wind stirred. No sound except the metallic scream of wheels. When it vanished, the platform was darker than before. My journal snapped open again. Trust her, but not completely. I swallowed hard, staring at her. She noticed, lips tightening. It's talking to you, isn't it? She asked. They all do, but never the same way. That's what makes them dangerous. I glanced at her journal. What does yours say? She hesitated, then shook her head. Not tonight. Tonight, it only warns. That means something is close. As if to prove her right, the lights above us flickered violently, then steadied. A shadow rippled across the platform, though nothing moved. My gut clenched. He followed me, I whispered. Her eyes hardened. Then we don't have much time. There's a place we can go, safer than here. She turned, moving quickly toward a maintenance door at the end of the platform. My journal scrawled violently. Go. Do not stay. The station is bleeding. My skin crawled. I stumbled after her, the metal door groaning as she shoved it open. We slipped inside, descending into narrow tunnels that stank of rust and oil. The hum was louder here, a constant vibration in the pipes, like the station itself was alive and in pain. She moved fast, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. I nearly tripped keeping up. What do we call you? I asked, needing something to anchor myself. She didn't look back. Call me Mara. Her voice carried a strange finality, like she hadn't spoken her real name in a long time. We pushed deeper into the tunnels until we reached a cramped service room filled with old lockers and broken equipment. She locked the door behind us, then finally turned to face me fully. You don't understand how deep this goes, she said. The journals don't just connect realities. They decide who gets to stay. Every choice we make is another cut across the fabric. Eventually, one side wins. I sank onto a bench, clutching my journal. Wins? You mean, one of us survives? She nodded slowly, and the others vanish, like they never were. Her words hollowed me out. I thought of the man in my apartment, his wave, his smile. What if he already believed I was the shadow, not him? How do we fight that? I whispered. Mara's journal snapped open suddenly, ink spilling across it in jagged slashes. Her eyes widened. We don't fight, she said quickly. Not yet. First we run. Then we find the fracture before they do. She shoved the journal into her jacket and moved toward the door again. I stared down at mine. New words appeared slowly, deliberately, each letter etched like a command. Do not trust the name she gave you. She wears another face. My breath caught. I looked up at her, heart pounding. She stood by the door, waiting, face taut with urgency, eyes sharp in the dim light. She must have noticed my hesitation. What is it? She demanded. I clutched the journal tighter, torn. If it was warning me, was Mara even real? Or was she another mask, another thief in waiting? But then again, what if this was the trap, to drive me away from the only ally I had? The air thickened, the hum rising, vibrating the walls until dust trickled from the ceiling. She grabbed my arm. We have to go? Now. My journal flared again. Choose quickly. Delay is death. The tunnels twisted endlessly, concrete curving like the ribs of some buried beast. Mara's flashlight beam jittered across rusted pipes and water stains that looked too much like handprints. I followed, though every step felt heavier than the last, my journal thrumming against my chest like a second heartbeat. The warning still echoed in my mind. She wears another face. Yet what choice did I have? The hum pressed on my skull, vibrating my teeth, as if the city itself was whispering for me to hurry or to turn back. We're close, Mara muttered, glancing over her shoulder, her face pale in the shifting light. The fracture runs beneath the river. That's where they bleed through most often. Her words left a bitter taste in my mouth. They, us, shadows wearing us like costumes. I couldn't tell anymore. My journal flickered open briefly, scrawling jagged lines before snapping shut again, as if it, too, was losing strength. Mara noticed. Yours is weakening. That means the balance is shifting. Shifting toward what? I asked, my voice hoarse. She didn't answer. We pressed on until the tunnel opened into a cavernous maintenance hall. Broken machinery sprawled like skeletons, gears rusting, belts torn, walls dripping with condensation. A faint glow pulsed near the far side, a shimmer like heat rising from asphalt. I froze. Is that? Yes, Mara said quickly. The fracture. But as she stepped closer, The glow rippled violently, stretching upward into something towering and wrong. My breath caught. A figure stood within the light, its form half real, half distorted, a mirror smeared by oil. It looked like me, my height, my build, even the same torn sleeve on my jacket, but its eyes burned white, hollow, and endless. My chest clenched as it raised a hand, fingers curling. Mara snapped her journal open, pages whipping in an invisible wind. "Don't look at it too long," she hissed. "It'll start replacing you from the inside out." The thing smiled, my smile, but sharper, crueler. Its mouth moved, and though no sound came, I felt its words in my skull. "I am the one who stayed. You're the mistake." I staggered back, clutching my journal. Pages burst open with desperate scrawls. "Run. Fight. Run. Fight." The ink bled into nonsense, as if it couldn't decide either. Mara shouted something, but I barely heard. The doppelganger stepped free of the glow, each movement glitching, skipping frames. The fracture howled behind it, the sound of metal tearing. "Don't let it touch you," Mara screamed, pulling me aside as the figure lunged. Its hand grazed the wall where I'd been a second before, and concrete disintegrated into black dust. Panic surged. "We can't fight that," I yelled. "Then we bleed it back," Mara snapped, shoving her journal toward the creature. Pages flared, spilling light that cut across its form. It shrieked soundlessly, flickering, but didn't vanish. Instead it split. Another me tearing free from its shadow, now two versions stepping forward, each more distorted than the last. My stomach dropped. "It's multiplying," I cried. Mara's face was tight, furious. "Because it knows you're undecided. You haven't chosen what you are yet. Until you do, they'll keep coming." The words hit like a blade. Chosen? Chosen between what? Them or me? My chest burned as the journals in both our hands writhed, ink pouring across the pages, writing faster than we could read. The hall shuddered, machinery groaning, pipes bursting in sprays of scalding steam. Shadows of figures filled the walls, dozens of me, all watching, waiting. Mara grabbed my arm. "We have to collapse the fracture before it consumes the whole sector. If we don't, there won't be a city left to fight for." I stared at her, throat tight. "And if we collapse it?" She hesitated only a second. "One of us doesn't make it through." The air cracked, white light splitting the ceiling. The copies surged forward, their faces blurring, mouths opening in silent screams. I felt them in my head, their memories flooding mine. Childhood birthdays, late-night arguments, the smell of rain on a different street. Lives that were mine, but not mine. It was too much, pulling me apart. I dropped to my knees, clutching my skull. Mara yanked me up, shaking me. "Focus. If you give in, you're gone." My journal tore open one final time, spilling a single sentence in heavy strokes. Sacrifice or surrender. No other path. My vision blurred. The fracture roared, sucking wind inward, pulling everything toward its white-hot core. Mara's voice cut through, raw and desperate. "Choose, damn you. If you don't, I'll choose for you." The words barely registered before one of the copies reached me, its hand grazing mine. A shock ripped through my body. For a heartbeat, I saw through its eyes, saw myself as the intruder, the shadow, the thief. And it believed it utterly. My scream tore loose, part terror, part recognition. I staggered back, journal shaking violently in my grip. Mara shoved me toward the fracture. "It wants you. That means you're the anchor. End it, or we're all ash." The glow swallowed my vision, heat blistering my skin. Behind me, the copies advanced, endless. Ahead, the fracture yawned like a star dying. My journal bled ink until the words dripped from the pages. Now or never. The roar of the fracture swallowed every thought, its light searing my eyes until tears streamed down my face, but I couldn't look away. It pulsed like a heartbeat, dragging the air inward, dragging me with it. And every copy of myself staggered closer, their movements jagged, their faces splitting and reforming like melting wax. I clutched the journal to my chest, though it shook violently, ink spilling onto my hands, staining my skin as if marking me for the choice it demanded. Behind me, Mara's voice broke through the roar, sharp and furious. "You're wasting time. If you don't act now, there won't be a city left." I turned, and in the chaos her face flickered, just for a second, into something else, sharper, colder, Not hers at all. My stomach dropped. The warning came back. She wears another face. But I shoved it aside because the copies were already closing in, their hollow white eyes locked on me like predators. One of them lunged, and I swung the journal like a weapon, the pages exploding in a blast of light that tore half its body away. It shrieked without sound, collapsing into dust that drifted upward into the fracture, as if being pulled home. My breath came in ragged gasps. The others didn't hesitate. They pressed forward, dozens of them now, each carrying fragments of me, each whispering inside my skull, "We are the true one. You are the shadow. Surrender and let us heal the wound." The voices overlapped until I couldn't tell my own thoughts from theirs. "Listen to me." Mara grabbed my shoulder, shoving me toward the fracture. "You're the anchor, that much is clear. If you step into it with the journal, it will seal. That's the only way." My throat tightened. "Seal it? What happens to me?" Her eyes locked on mine, unwavering. "You don't come back." My knees buckled under the weight of it. The journal in my grip fluttered, words forming, bleeding through the paper. One must burn to close the wound. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hurl it away and deny all of it. But the roar around us only grew louder, the fracture splitting wider, tearing the walls of the chamber as if reality itself were peeling apart. The copies surged closer, some crawling on all fours, others dragging themselves across the ground, all of them with my face, my voice, my memories. They reached out with grasping hands, and I saw the hunger in their hollow eyes. They didn't want to kill me. They wanted to absorb me, to erase the mistake, to overwrite me until nothing remained. "You're not real," one of them mouthed. "You never were." My scream tore from my throat, part fury, part terror. I blasted them back with another surge from the journal, pages igniting in flames of ink that scorched the air. Several disintegrated, but more crawled from the shadows, endless, inevitable. Mara was at my side, her own journal flaring as she held the tide back, her face twisted with strain. But again I saw it. The flicker, her features shifting into someone else's, her voice bending deeper. My stomach lurched. "Who are you really?" I demanded, choking on the smoke. Her head snapped toward me, eyes dark. "I am the one trying to save you. Or replace me," I whispered. Her face hardened, but she didn't deny it. "What does it matter? Only one version survives either way. Make the choice." The ground cracked beneath us, slabs of concrete buckling as the fracture yawned wider, its light now blinding, swallowing machinery, shadows, everything. The chamber was collapsing, and I knew we had only moments. I lifted the journal, my hands trembling, the ink dripping onto the floor like blood. The words scrawled furiously now, a chorus of commands. Jump. Burn. Sacrifice. Seal. Jump. My breath hitched. To leap into that light was death, or worse, erasure. To stay was to watch the city torn apart by endless copies of myself. And behind it all, Mara, if that was even her name. Waiting, watching, perhaps hoping I would falter so she could step forward in my place. My pulse thundered. "Tell me the truth," I demanded, voice breaking. "If I jump, what happens to you?" Her jaw clenched. For a heartbeat, she looked almost human, almost afraid. Then she whispered, "If you jump, I disappear with you." The weight of it crushed me. She wasn't just my ally. She was tethered to me, another fragment, another reflection wearing skin. My mind reeled. If I chose the city, I killed us both. If I chose myself, I doomed everything else. The copies screamed, surging all at once, a tidal wave of my own faces, my own lives, reaching for me. The fracture bellowed like a dying star. Mara grabbed my arm, shoving me forward, her eyes wild. "Do it." My legs shook, the edge of the fracture blazing beneath me, heat clawing at my skin, every nerve screaming. I raised the journal high, ink dripping in black fire. For one suspended moment, everything slowed. The roar, the screams, the flicker of Mara's not-quite face, the whispers of the copies in my skull. And I realized the truth. There was no right choice, only the one I could live or die with. My scream broke loose as I moved, the journal blazing like a torch, and I hurled myself into the heart of the fracture. The fracture did not feel like falling. It felt like dissolving. Every part of me pulled into threads, stretched thin until I thought I would vanish, Yet somehow my mind clung to itself like a candle flame in the wind. The journal burned in my arms, not with fire, but with a radiance that poured straight through my skin, carving words across me until I was nothing but writing. Around me the voices of the copies shrieked, then cut into silence, as if the fracture swallowed them whole. For a heartbeat I thought I was free, that the sacrifice had ended it. But then the light deepened into blackness and I realized I had not died. I had been delivered. I stood in a street I recognized and yet did not. The city whole again, no fracture tearing it apart, no copies prowling the alleys. The air was still, the hum gone, the people moving quietly, calmly, as if nothing had happened. I stumbled forward, clutching the remains of the journal, though its pages were ash now, flaking away with every breath. A man passed me and nodded politely, but his face blurred, the features rearranging into someone I didn't know. Another woman passed, and though her eyes met mine, there was no recognition, only a blank kindness that chilled me to the bone. I whispered Mara's name, but the sound died before it left my lips. She was gone. I had erased her, erased myself, and yet I still walked. A mirror in a shop window drew my gaze, and what I saw froze my blood. I was not me, not entirely. My face shifted, subtle, like a reflection in water disturbed by ripples. At moments I looked as I always had, but then my eyes flickered into something hollow, my jaw sharpening into a stranger's, my hands twitching with unfamiliar gestures. I pressed my palms against the glass and the skin crawled, not from fear, but from recognition. The journal's last words echoed inside me. One must burn to close the wound. I had burned, but not all the way through. The city was safe, at least for now, but the cost was my own certainty. I was no longer sure if I was the anchor who leapt, or a surviving copy who believed he had. The street bustled around me, unaware, unbroken, yet I felt the fracture still, deep under the skin of this world, humming faintly like a warning. And I knew the truth. It never closed forever. The journals were invitations, not solutions. Somewhere, another would be found, another hand would write, another fracture would bloom, and someone else would face the choice I had made. Perhaps it was already happening now, in another street, another version of me screaming as the light took him. I walked on, every step uncertain, the ash of the journal scattering in the wind, drifting into the air like seeds. For a long time I thought of turning back, of retracing my way to the pawn shop, of searching for Mara in whatever shadows she had left. But there was no going back. Not for me. Perhaps not for anyone. So I did the only thing left. I began to write again, carving words into scraps of paper, walls, even the inside of my own arms. Fragments of memory, fragments of warnings, fragments of lives that might have been mine. Because if the journals were invitations, then maybe mine could be a warning. Or maybe it would simply be another doorway for someone else to stumble through. The thought should have terrified me, but instead it filled me with a hollow calm. I understood now that the journals were not about survival. They were about continuity. Someone always carried them forward. The fracture always found a new voice. And I was only one in an endless line of passengers. As dusk fell, the city glowed with lights that flickered just slightly off beat, as if reality itself strained to keep the rhythm. I stood at the edge of the street, watching strangers pass, feeling the fracture hum in my bones, and I asked myself the question I knew would haunt me until the end. Had I saved this world, or only delayed its unraveling? And if another journal found me tomorrow, would I leap again, or would I let someone else burn in my place?